the time, cause I wanna freeze this moment. Make it mine, hold you close. Now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you suddenly I feel no pain. Do you make it go away? Do you make it? Hold you close, now my heart's wide open. When I'm with you suddenly I feel no pain. Do you make it go away? Do you make it?
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening and welcome to Chaz Draycott Media, and welcome to the penultimate round of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. My name is Chaz Draycott and I'm here to broadcast and commentate on all of the action for you once again this evening. It's been a right good championship, this, to say it in as northern a way as possible. It's been really good fun broadcasting this series, and we are not quite done yet. We stay in Italy after racing at Imola last week, the sort of postponed round at Imola after the heatwave a couple of weeks ago in the UK. Now sees us stay in Italy for the second week running. And, well, when you look at this circuit, there is not much that needs to be said. Autodromo Nazionale Monza, the Temple of Speed, an incredible place to race, and plenty of slipstreaming will be on the cards tonight. That is going to be the buzzword, and there is going to be a lot of mind games to go with it as well. Might not be the case when it comes to the championship, though. This is exactly how things look right now. Simon Povey, top of the standings, ahead of Ed May. There are 51 points remaining after this race in the Drivers' Championship, and Simon is currently 55 points clear at the top. So if he outscores Ed May tonight, he could take the championship win. He is in the session, and he is on the circuit right now, actually, in the Aston Martin, but I do not see Edward May in here either. Now, Simon's not been very well at the moment, and Ed also, as of this afternoon, was not very well, so we may see the championship go the way of Simon, but you never know. James Cummings doing really well as well. And Dominic Brennan, after his fantastic night at Imola, of course, sits fourth in the championship now. We move that out of the way, though, and look at the team's championship standings, because this is how they look right now. Tall and Taller Motorsport currently top of the pile. Now there are, after this round, 91 championship points available for the teams. They're currently 113 points clear, so if they outscore H Motorsport tonight, then they will take the team's championship standings. So all to play for still. Clockwork Orange Racing hoping to get out of the negative points. Basically, you get minus 20 points if you change car, and one of the drivers in that team has, of course, changed car as the season has gone on. We'll have a look at the circuit itself then. You can see the conditions a little bit sunny at the moment. Drivers practicing their pit entrances. That is Oliver Carwadine at the bottom of the shot. And here is the rumbling, thundering Aston Martin of John Roberts, who makes his way round Curva Grande. I'm not having as many bitrate issues today, by the way, so hopefully the broadcast looks a little bit better than it did a week ago. Got about 50% more in terms of the bitrate for this week. It's good to see João Esteves and his teammate Fausto Pinto both back on track tonight. João returned to the championship after 3 months away at Imola. Had a bit of a nightmare, though, with drive-through penalties that would not clear. It was the same for James Cummings as well, actually. He mentioned that he got a penalty and it would not go away. But Fausto Pinto returns to the championship tonight after having issues with his wheel. He was not able to get a replacement in time, and now he's been able to get back on with it. We've got Stephen Haley back with us again tonight. He's currently second in practice. After this 1 hour practice session, we have a 20-minute qualifying session, a new livery for the SimSport Racing International car by the look of it, on Stephen Haley's Aston Martin. Very nice looking machine indeed, as he makes his way down towards what is now Curva di Alboreto at the end of the lap. Dominic Brennan, well, after winning last week's race, he is currently fastest in this one at the moment, in terms of practice anyway. I'm going to be intrigued to see whether he can keep that up throughout the entire evening. Looking back at the awards, by the way, which we get every so often from Heinz Meyer. He gives out awards at the end of each race. The safest driver last time out was one Mark Johnson, but it doesn't look like Mark can be here this evening, unfortunately. And driver of the race was given to Rob Sharp last time out. Rob is here, 6th place at the moment. There's Oliver Carwadine on your screens, weaving around. Getting the most out of the McLaren out there. He is the highest placed McLaren in the field. 4 Aston Martins in the top 5, but Dominic Brennan currently top of the pile overall, as Carwadine has a long old spin into Curva di Alboreto. It's easy to do that in the McLaren. The back end just sort of floats away from you. It's rather frustrating, to be honest. It's one of those sort of mid-engined, I don't know what you want to call it really. It's like a sort of characteristic of the car. You get that in the Porsche as well though. Obviously the Porsche engine not all the way at the back like it normally is in the 911. It's more of a mid-engined car, is the 718 Cayman. Gary Tall is currently 5th at the moment, just 1 place behind his teammate Simon Povey. Gary had a really good race meeting actually at Imola, got quite a lot of points to his name for that one. Really helped the team in the championship. He got a podium in the end. 3rd position, 35 championship points. He's going to be hoping for potentially the same again tonight. But as mentioned, they need to outscore H Motorsport tonight, and that is it. H Motorsport need to outscore them by 22 points, and it doesn't look like Ed May is actually going to be racing. So if that is the case, then Tall and Taller Motorsport are team's champions. But when it comes to the Drivers' Championship, actually it would be the same situation because Simon Povey is 55 points clear at the moment. So we wait and see. It'd be a shame for it to go that way. I mean, in a previous championship that I hosted, it was down to the final round of the season. And unfortunately, it came down to one driver just not turning up, being busy elsewhere. And of course, we always say, and we don't say it without meaning, of course, that real life does come first in sim racing. These things happen sometimes, but I know that at the start of the season, Ed said that he just wanted a bottle of bubbly and he wanted to finish in the top 3 in the standings, so if he can manage that, I'm sure he'll be a very happy bunny. Who else do we have on track right now? We've got Ryan Penny just behind John Roberts here. Ryan just saying hello in the YouTube chat not long ago. Good evening to all of you, whether you may be watching across YouTube, Facebook or Twitch. Streaming on all 3 platforms now every time. We've got Paul Stout back with us this evening in the bright 37 Manti Racing coloured machine. He makes his way into the pits. Practices that all-important pit entry because let's not forget they have pit stops in these races. So they have to be very, very careful about when they're going to pit. A lot of them have 2 pit stops. It's very rare that we see drivers get away with 1 stop. Actually, I don't think we have seen anybody get away with 1 stop this season, have we? I think everybody has always had to do 2 stops. As there is the end of the session. We hit 1 hour. And qualifying can begin. There is the beautiful podium at Monza, which I've had the absolute privilege of standing on. It's an incredible viewpoint if you want to watch any racing. And with a media pass, they actually let you stand on there for race starts and everything. It's amazing. Drew Fletcher in the chat. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing well. Now let's see who leads who out of the pit lane here. It's Stephen Haley that's going to lead them all down towards the first chicane. The frame rate, of course, absolutely tanking there as we get more and more cars out on track. And Alex Neller making a very good point there in the YouTube chat that you will not get away with a 1-stop here at Monza. You will certainly not. You spend about 115% of the lap flat out anyway. It can be a real nightmare. Pretty much impossible to save fuel around a place like this. But it's a very interesting circuit in that regard. You know, you have to really be switched on. You have to be ready to do what you can in terms of slipstreaming and positioning. Andy Hopley is here for H Motorsport. Not sure how long ago he joined the session, but I didn't see him earlier on in the standings, so apologies, Andy, if I missed you. But he's going to try and uphold the honour here for H Motorsport tonight and try and take the fight to Tall and Taller Motorsport at the end of the season. Let's go on board with Stephen Haley then in the Aston Martin as he roars his way down towards Curva Alboreto. Hard onto the brakes, tips it in. You've got to be very gentle with the car around here. Some people take a bit of a later apex and let the car tuck in like this and stay sort of in the middle of the road. Others will take an early apex and let it go all the way around the outside, ride that white line on the left. Now, I'm not 100% sure about people crossing that white line on the right, as long as it's not all four wheels. Don't know what everyone else's opinions are in the chat, but I think that white line is part of the racing surface. So 2 wheels, yeah, maybe that's okay. We've got a car parked on the exit of the first chicane here. That is Ryan Penn. No, it's not. It's Stuart Clark. I thought it was Ryan Penny for a moment there. I saw a white Porsche. So we go down and around Curva Grande with Stephen Haley all the way up through the revs. Hard onto the brakes from just less than 230 k's on the way into the chicane. That's the Della Roggia chicane, and he feels like he's messed that one up, so he pulls over to one side and through goes Andy Hopley in the other Aston Martin. So we'll go on board with Andy, shall we? Through the first of the Lesmos. Don't know why I spelt the word through with a F at the front of it there, so apologies. Andy Hopley, 2 purple sectors at the moment. Lesmo 2, though, he runs a little bit wide. Oh, I'm not sure whether that will have invalidated the lap time. There was a little flash of red on my timing screen. Into Ascari, one of the hardest corners in the world, or one of the hardest sections in the world. The first part of it tries to unsettle the car with that big curb. Then you've got to try and just drag it through to the right-hand side, not hit those sausage curbs on the inside there. And then again, flick the weight from right to left, really manage that weight transfer out of the final part of that chicane. And Andy Hopley also feels like he is not on a golden lap right now. Stephen Haley moves back in front. Paul Goffin is the car behind him in the Porsche. He's done some green sectors, improving on his outlap times at least. A lot of these drivers give it everything in the outlap to try and just squeeze as much time out as they can, and no, he does not complete his lap. So Dominic Brennan is the first one to go across the line with a flat out time, and it's a 1:57.4 by Dominic. And the 2 Aston Martins at the front working together, it seems. Fausto Pinto 1:58.5, 1:59.4 for Paul Stout. John Roberts goes second fastest with a 1:57.8. Then it's Oliver Carwadine. Stephen Kershaw puts a time on the board there as well. Ryan Penny goes 7th fastest, 2 minutes 0.5. Here's Ralph Mayer just coming around the final corner now. He's got Heinz Mayer just in front of him. The 2 of them slipstreaming off one another. Andy Marston goes across the line ahead and 2:01.3. Heinz Mayer 1:59.9. Ralph Mayer, no valid lap time. Now Andy Hopley, one of 2 Hopleys on track again this evening. He and his father both racing in the championship. Philip Hopley in this very, very blue Porsche Cayman. He hasn't done a valid lap time yet, but he's completed a fast lap, so he must have had an incident point somewhere, like I think Oliver Carwadine just got in the background there in the McLaren. But here is Andy now. Pushing down towards Ascari. A very excited Marshall stands trackside, ready to go. He's all over the white line on the right, very, very close. Looks nice and tidy from this angle through Ascari, doesn't it? But it feels painful in the car itself through there. It just doesn't want to behave itself. He's done a purple sector 1. Dominic Brennan, the red Porsche just behind them, has done a purple sector 3. Stephen Haley, no improvements so far from him. What can Andy do then when he gets on the throttle here? It's another green sector from him. Keeps the car in the middle of the road. Shortens the run to the line as much as possible. All 4 wheels over the white line though. And he goes fastest to 1:57.034, 1:57.1 for Dominic Brennan. Very close between them. In the background though, I saw Simon Povey going for it, and by just less than 1/10 of a second, Simon Povey goes fastest. João Estevez goes 8th fastest. John Roberts goes 4th. Oliver Carwadine still 6th. Behind them as well was Stephen Kershaw. He's just gone 6th fastest. Gary Tall goes up to 5th, pushes those 2 down even further. Rob Sharp now goes 4th fastest. He's got Ryan Penny ahead of him on track, and then Gary Tall ahead of him. There's 5 cars that haven't put times in yet. Stephen Haley, Ralph Mayer, Stuart Clark, Paul Goffin and Philip Hopley. Now here comes Ralph Mayer to the line. He does do a time. Goes 13th fastest, 2 minutes, .026. He's in a bit of a sandwich right now with Andy Marston behind and Heinz Mayer just in front of him. Now where is Stuart Clark? He's all on his own, unfortunately for him. No slipstream to be had here. Makes his way out of the final corner. He's done a green sector 4, but he's not done a fast lap yet, so we'll see where this initial time puts him. No James Cummings tonight either by the look of it, which is a shame. James 3rd in the championship. Having a good run so far. No time on the board yet from Stuart Clark. Stephen Haley is going to be the next car to cross the line. He's done a green sector 1, but he's just not got any other improvements in the bag yet by the look of it. Dominic Brennan improves on his personal best sectors 1 and 2. See what he can do around the final corner here. Stephen Haley again, no improvement there, but anything to get a time on the board will be handy for him right now. Across the line he goes. The timing line is just back there. And Dominic Brennan goes fastest by 39 thousandths of a second. Stephen Haley goes 7th with a 1:57.8. But Simon Povey pushed down to 2nd. Fausto Pinto goes 8th fastest in the BMW. The BMW stretching its legs around here. Oliver Carwadine goes up to 7th. Stephen Kershaw goes back up to 4th. Great stuff by Mr. Kershaw. Gary Tall goes 6th. He moves ahead of John Roberts by just 5 thousandths of a second. And we still have 3 cars with no lap times on the board. Philip Hopley has crossed the line and started another lap, but he still doesn't have a time on there. This man as well, part of Team SRM, Paul Goffin, looking to try and get a time on there. Out of the final corner he goes in the bright yellow Team SRM machine. Just tickles that white line on the right. Is it a valid time? It is. Puts him 11th fastest to 1:58.102. Goffin is ahead of João Esteves, Paul Stout, the 2 Mayers, Ryan Penny and Andy Marston. Stuart Clark isn't too far behind him now. He's going to go for the line out the final corner. We'll listen to the wonderful noise of the Porsche as he floors it all the way across the line now. He'll be putting his foot through the bulkhead. Still no time for Stuart Clark, so he's clearly pushing the limits somewhere. Just a little bit too much, unfortunately. Dominic Brennan, though, fastest at the moment. Now you get a championship point for claiming pole position. Dominic is certainly going after that right now. He's had an amazing run since joining the championship. And had he been in it since the very start, I reckon he'd be up there fighting for the title. Andy Hopley's done a purple sector 1 on this lap and improved in sectors 3 and 4. I think he's going to be on for a real gorgeous lap right now. He's only 1/10 of a second off pole at the moment. Let's see what he does as he crosses the line. How much of an improvement is it? It's not a valid time. Not a valid time by Andy Hopley. Surely, though, that would have been fast enough for pole. I'll look at what the time came up as. No, he's had a mistake somewhere because it said it took him 2 minutes .1, so something went wrong somewhere for him. As Stephen Haley pulls over to the other side. John Roberts is also in the pits. Let's catch up with João Esteves, shall we? Oh, he's having a bit of a moment with his teammate there. Fausto Pinto, cars 73 and 23. Coming together at the chicane almost. They're running the Ukrainian flags on the roof as support for the wonderful nation. Just behind them on track there, I believe they've got Stephen Kershaw. He's eyeing up the back of the BMWs in his lovely, lovely Porsche, the Martini branded machine. Now he gets a run around them, but that's just going to slow him down if anything. He wants to try and find some extra space. Philip Hopley has put a time on the board, but he's 17 seconds off pole. So I think he's made a mistake somewhere around here. This is the thing with Monza. It's only got a couple of corners. 90% of Monza is big straights, but to be honest with you, the corners are very menacing ones. Especially the Lesmos here and the slower of the 2 chicanes. The very first chicane, the Rettifilo. They're very menacing because you want to brake as late as you dare, and because of these humongous straights that you've got a long old time to think about what you're going to do when you get there and how many times you're going to get it wrong. The mind games around this circuit are not just against your opponents and other drivers, but it's about not getting in your own head as well at the same time. We've still got Stuart Clark, who hasn't put a time on the board, but he's in the slipstream right now. Simon Povey, now that's a guy to slipstream for sure. Where does Stuart Clark go on the grid? Still no time on the board. I'm not quite sure what's going on here with Stuart Clark. Whether he is just getting an off track somewhere and he's just overdoing it, but again, none of his times are showing up as valid lap times. Not sure if he's got some sort of connection issue and it's just not registering them or what, but I've seen that before actually, where a good friend of mine was trying to qualify and he was blinking in and out a lot during the session with a very loose connection, let's say, and it just wasn't registering his times. So I hope for Stuart's sake that that's not the case. Whether he's just cutting the chicane a little bit too much and getting a slowdown penalty or something, I'm not sure. As up the order goes Paul Goffin, he moves into 8th position with a 157.6. We'll keep our eye on Stuart Clark and just see if we can find the moment where he's invalidating his lap. And hope that we don't actually get to see it, because, of course, we hope for him that this will be the valid lap time that he's after. That will get him up there on the timing sheets. He's the final car that needs to still put a time in. Through Ascari. Clatters the curb on the left hand side. You want to be very careful of that. I hit that once in an Audi R18 LMP car and went flying into the air and almost over the barrier. Simon Povey's done 2 purple sectors in the middle of this lap, though. This is looking very fast by Simon. He's going to try and take an extra championship point away from Dominic Brennan. Across the line, he goes all the way to the right. That surely means it's fastest, and it is by nearly 1/4 of a second. Simon Povey with a 156.681. Brilliant lap time. Stuart Clark finally on the board, goes 11th fastest. Stuart putting in a time in the end of 157.8. But that is a brilliant time by Simon Povey. Oliver Carwardine, I'm not sure if you caught that there, but Oliver had a purple sector 3 and a green sector 1. He's just done a 57.501. He moves up the order into 6th in the McLaren. That's good to see. Ralph Mayer and Heinz Mayer about to both cross the line right together. The two of them both improving on their current times up to that point, and they swap around. Ralph moves ahead of Heinz by a couple of tenths of a second as well, actually. The two of them not split by very much, though, it has to be said. John Roberts will be the next car to cross the line. 5 minutes of the session left to go here at Monza, and that is not long at all, considering it's pretty much 2 minutes per lap. Across the line goes John. Not sure if that'll be an overall improvement. No, he's only 6 thousandths behind Gary Toll, though. It's very, very close between those two. Gary in 8th. John just inside the top 10. Now you get points all the way down to 20th place in this championship. So, again, we have an evening where if everybody finishes the race, then they will score points. It's a real shame we don't have Ed May on track tonight, though, to try and take the title to the very end. It looks like it's going to... Whoa, big accident there. Big accident for Stephen Kershaw. Stephen's in the wall. And that's the sort of moment that we will see in the race, I'm pretty sure, at Ascari. The back end just losing itself over that weight transfer, and that is a horrible hit for Kershaw. Smashes into the wall. He now sits in the pits. Andy Hopley crossed the line and improved with 56.8. Oliver Carwardine also improved. So too did Stephen Haley. João Estevez moves up the order with some help from his teammate. Less than a second off the top spot now. It's 0.3 of a second between 3rd and 4th, though. There's a little bit of a gap being bridged there. I really like these two Petrol Tuga BMWs. A little bit too matte for my liking, but they certainly look Very cool with that livery. Now Stuart Clark, like I said, isn't having the best of sessions at the moment. He's going to want to improve. I think that someone that is going to improve is Paul Goffin here. No, he doesn't. 157.707 keeps him in 10th place. His fastest time is 157.65. So he must have improved by just a tiny bit in the sectors where they went green. John Roberts across the line doesn't improve on his time. Dominic Brennan comes up to Ascari once more. You can see just as they flick it to the left there. I love that angle. Love that camera angle of that corner. Into Curvet de Alboreto once more. Keeps it nice and tidy all the way around. Got to be so careful through there because it's another corner where the back end can just slowly step away and you think that the car is just oversteering that little bit as it makes its way around, and then before you know it, you've completely looped the thing and it is around. Now Gary Tall's on an out lap and he's just about to tick over into a fast lap now. Peng Performance in the chat, good to see you. Saying that they're looking forward to joining next season with the Staffzilla cars, and we certainly do look forward to welcoming you. Porsche Sport in the chat. Hello, hello indeed. I have an answer for you as well. We have 11 Porsches tonight. We have 10 in the race. And we have our beautiful pace car, which just for you, I always choose as the Porsche. Not as that stupid pickup or that saloon thing that's definitely an Audi. We've only a minute and a quarter left of qualifying to go. Some of these guys are really pushing now. We wait to see green sectors come in. Paul Goffin remains in 10th position, just about missing out on improving on his best time. It's Gary Tall pushing hard here around the Lesmos. Team Zilla in the chat as well. Good to see you guys. Hope you're all well. It's great to have the support for the championship and for the channel as well. Stuart Clark into shot sideways there. That was a very fortunate camera change, wasn't it? Stuart really pushing the Porsche as hard as he can through Lesmo 2. Dominic Brennan is actually on a bit of a demon lap right now. He is improving sector after sector. He's got 2 green sectors so far. Can he climb back up into second place or even pole position? No purple sectors on this lap though. It's a very good time by Simon Povey with quite a bit of slipstream involved, a 156.681. Here goes Dominic then to the line. Runs all the way over to the right. No improvement in the final sector and no improvement overall actually. Doesn't improve his lap time in total, which is a shame. And there goes the checkered flag. So Gary Tall's just about to cross the line. And it is not... oh, it is an improvement. No particular sector's improved, actually. It's green there for Gary Tall, but he moves up into 6th position. Really good stuff from Gary. Let's see who's about to complete laps then. Fausto Pinto has just crossed the line. João Estevez crosses the line, and he improves as well, up to 11th. Then we have Ralph Mayer coming around the final corners as well. He's just about to hit the brakes into Curva de Alboreto. Stephen Haley crosses the line. 2 green sectors from him. Surely that's an improvement overall. It is, but he's 6 thousandths off Oliver Cowardine, so he does not move up the order. Across the line goes Ralph Mayer. Keep an eye on Paul Goffin as well. He could move up. Ralph Mayer goes 15th fastest to 158.4. Paul Goffin goes 5th fastest to 157.277. Great time by Paul. Really, really solid lap that is. John Roberts has got 2 green sectors going on as well at the moment. He's across the line now, straightens it up as much as he can, doesn't run over the white line on the right. Good boy. And wow, John Roberts goes 4th fastest to 157.204. What a brilliant lap that is by John. What a brilliant, brilliant lap that is by John. Wow. GG, John Roberts. Fantastic effort right near the end there. I always call him under the radar because of the camouflage on that car, but there was nothing subtle about that. Some great improvements there right near the end of the session. Now, what can Dominic Brennan do? Because he's done a purple sector 3 But I think with the lack of improvements elsewhere on the lap, it's not going to be enough. Let's see. Can he snatch this away from Simon Povey right at the death? He moves over to the right. It must still be a good one because he's going all the way over to the right. And it's not. A 156.962 for Dominic Brennan. Unfortunately, does not improve. But John Roberts, well, he was a real star of that for a moment there, wasn't he? Up into 4th place right at the end. 2nd row of the grid ahead of Steve Kershaw, Paul Goffin, Rob Sharp, Gary Tall, Oliver Carwadine, and this man, Stephen Haley, who rounds out the top 10 in the Aston Martin. But another great session comes to an end. And now we have to wait and see, because I think now, without the presence of Ed May joining this race, once we start the first lap and get things underway, we are going to be able to crown a champion. It's a shame that the fight isn't going to go straight down to the wire in the very end of the championship, but these things happen. God, someone needs to change that pit lane camera. Anyway, we will have our grid then. It's going to be 2 Aston Martins on the front row. Let's see what we can do then about getting these guys on camera. Simon Povey starts on pole position. He will be alongside Andrew Hopley. Dominic Brennan and John Roberts will make up row 2. Then it's going to be Stephen Kershaw and Paul Goffin. Rob Sharp and Gary Tall make up row 4. Oliver Carwadine is 9th alongside Stephen Haley, ahead of João Estevez and Stuart Clark, who rounds out your top 12. Then we have Fausto Pinto and Philip Hopley on row 7, ahead of Ralph Mayer and Paul Stout on row 8. Heinz Mayer is 17th, ahead of Ryan Penny, and Andrew Marston rounds out the back of the grid. So, I can tell you now the frame rate is going to be horrendous for the first few moments, so please do bear with it. My little RTX 2080 can only do so much. But Simon Povey, as he is starting this race, and Ed May is not, Simon Povey is your Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge champion, everybody. While we get this formation lap underway, can we get some clap emojis, trophies, whatever you can throw in chat, because unfortunately we will not get the fight all the way to the end of the championship, but this does mean that Simon is the champion. The team's championship is still yet to be wrapped up, so we'll have to wait for that one, but we ride on board with number 117, the car that takes the title. Started out the championship as a Porsche, but of course finishes the championship as an Aston Martin. And there is the car alongside him, just to the right of our shot there. Andy Hopley is going to be trying his very best to keep the fight between the two teams going to the end of the championship. That's H Motorsport and Tall and Taller. But Andy needs to outscore both Tall and Taller cars by 22 points tonight just to keep the championship alive. That would basically mean that he has to have a perfect round at the end with Ed, and Simon and Gary have to get no points. So here we go then into the final corner. And it looks like we're about to get things underway at Monza. We'll go for this wonderful view. And Simon Povey, your newly crowned champion, gets things underway in round 11 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Typically they hide behind the pit building and they go flying down the start-finish straight once more. The frame rate is going to tank and I love it. Good start by Povey. Hopley slots in behind him. Dominic Brennan tries to get down the inside of the pair of them, though. John Roberts in there as well. Stephen Kershaw and Paul Goffin side by side for 5th and 6th. Nearly a bit of argy-bargy between the two of them. We look back and just check. Everybody's keeping it nice and clean. Further down the order, it certainly looks like it. A really good start. Gary Tall's gained 2 places so far, actually, and he's around the outside of Stephen Kershaw, who's just lost his 2nd position since the start of the race. Cuts the nose off him, does Gary, on the way down to the De La Roggia chicane. Now, this is where things can go very quickly wrong if people are a little bit exuberant on the opening lap. Stuart Clark there going past Oliver Carbadine. He's gained 2 places. I think Oliver just got a bit of a whack in the rear there from João Esteves' BMW. We'll go on board with the big Bimmer as he goes into Lesmo 1. Oh, you can feel the understeer there as he runs wide. Didn't feel very tidy at all, did it? But Simon Povey got the start that he needed ahead of Andy Hopley, Dominic Brennan. John Roberts stays in 4th place. Stephen Kershaw and Rob Sharp side by side here with Stephen Haley in there as well. These 3 all together as they make their way up towards Ascari. Haley down the inside of Kershaw, and he's going to go through. He does. Actually, we need to go back to that because Stuart Clark, I think, was going to try and eye up a move on Steve Kershaw. Anybody losing the will around the exit of Ascari? It's very easy to lose the back end there. This is Philip Hopley. He's got a great run on João Esteves. Fausto Pinto going through as well there. I think maybe João got a slowdown penalty or something. Philip goes through ahead of one of the Petrol Tuga BMWs as well, going a little bit too hard into Curva Alboreto. Fausto Pinto just pushing a little bit too hard there for just a moment. Now, this is a slipstreaming battle here. Paul Goffin on the back of John Roberts with Gary Toll right behind him as they go down towards the Rettifilio to start lap 2 of this race. Hard onto the brakes. Gary tries to get the car around the outside to then have the inside for the second part of the chicane. Doesn't quite work for him. He's got a good run on the exit, though, in the Aston Martin. We go on board with Goffin. We should be able... Whoa, there's the Aston going. And Paul seemed to get a slowdown penalty or something because he is lifted off the throttle very, very suddenly. And he's lost 2 positions there. Gary Toll and Rob Sharp going through. Stephen Haley sees an opportunity as well. He goes late on the brakes down the inside and backs out of it. Stuart Clark and Steve Kershaw again side by side there. Stuart now has gained 3 places in this race. So too has Gary Toll. Paul Stout in the background there, really getting in the thick of it. He's trying to overtake one of the BMWs. That's Fausto Pinto in car 23. It's great watching the BMWs race against these other GT cars, isn't it? It looks like somebody just put a wing on a touring car and threw it in the mix as Fausto committed around the outside of Lesmo 2 ahead of Paul Stout, Ryan Penny, Ralph Mayer, Heinz Mayer, Andy Marston just falling away a little bit in the background there in the McLaren. But here is your race leader and brand new, newly crowned champion, Simon Povey. Are we going to see a champion's drive from him that sees him take the outright victory? It would be, I believe, his 6th race win of the season if he wins this one. He's won 5 races. Ed May has won 3. Dominic Brennan has won 1. And Mark Baxter Jones has won 1. And if you add all that together, that makes 10. There's been 10 races so far, so I know that I've got my maths right. Simon again running all the way over to the right-hand side of the wall. Personal best after personal best going in here. This is Stuart Clark on the back of Paul Goffin. Tucked right up behind him, moves over to the right-hand side. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Stuart gives, well, I was going to say plenty of room. There's just about a car's width there for Paul to make it around. Gives him the chance to slot back in front. But look, Stuart's got a great run on the exit now. Moves over to the left-hand side. If he can hang it all the way around Curva Grande, that's going to be the inside for the next chicane. Paul moves over to the left a little bit. Tiny bit of contact between the two. Oh, they're so close to rubbing corners against each other. They need to be very careful about it. Stuart is just in the middle of the road. Tries to go as late as he dares on the brakes. Paul tries to leave him room. Oh, Stuart has to take a lot of curb. I'm not sure if that would have given him a slowdown penalty or not, but Oliver Carbadine is suddenly in the mix behind the two of them now in the McLaren. Great close racing from everybody so far. If we show you the track map, you can see the majority of the field is all in one big train, to be honest with you, just small gaps between some of them. As Philip Hopley has a bit of an excursion on the exit of Lesmo 2. Back up towards Ascari once more. It's all about keeping it tidy through there. John Roberts is coming under pressure here from fellow Aston Martin driver Gary Toll. Gary's already had his podium for the season. He wants another one. pushing very, very hard indeed. Simon Povey, his teammate, still leads this race. Andy Hopley trying to stick with him, and he's doing it at the moment. Andy is definitely in the fight here. And you can hear him lifting off a bit early, though, just to make sure he doesn't suffer from that overspeed and kill the brakes on the way into the chicane. But again, this is a very exciting fight, and this is exactly what you get at Monza. Simon Povey's been that far over to the right. Actually says he's been into the pits at one point, as Stuart Clark has gone off at the first chicane. Stuart's gone straight on. What's happened here? Oh, he's just outbroken himself. Goes straight on, tries to minimise the damage and gets back onto the concrete, but that's not going to help him out, I'm afraid. He's still going to get a slowdown penalty for that one. And he finds himself now between the two Petrol Tuga BMWs. That's a nice run, actually, on João Estevez. Out of the first chicane. Oh, João just squeezes the nose off the Porsche. Don't think he knew that he was there, actually. Stuart was putting his nose down the inside. Stephen Haley's done the fastest lap of the race, by the way. 56.75 last time round, so this battle in front of him is clearly helping him out with all of the slipstream that he's going to get from it. We'll go on board so you get a first-person view of all of this. That's Rob Sharp in the Porsche just ahead of us. Rob, the second highest placed Porsche at the moment. Dominic Brennan holding on to those honours in third position overall. But the fight ahead, whoa, Rob has to get on the brakes there to not go into the back of one of the Aston Martins. Gary Tull brakes early to make sure that he gives John Roberts the room around the outside. He wants the slipstream down the start-finish straight. Rob has to be very careful not to hit him there. And now the slipstreaming properly begins. Now we're going to stay with Stephen Haley and keep an eye on this. Let's see who moves where. I expect Rob to go over to the right. Yep, there he goes. He's going to make it 3 wide with Gary Tull and John Roberts. Is he going to make that down the inside? Gary's broken first, but he's broken lighter, and Rob Sharp is going to do it. Rob Sharp is going to go from an amazing, amazing 6th place up into 4th. Overtakes the pair of them. Brilliant stuff by Rob Sharp. Great awareness and great racing by the other two as well, of course, to give the room and make sure that there wasn't an incident. Oliver Carwadine has had an incident, though, I'm afraid. He's just had a moment at the chicane. Oh, the car just gets away from him through the right-hand part. Let's have a look, though, at Rob Sharp overtaking these boys, because that was phenomenal. 3 wide all the way down. Stephen Haley had so much slipstream to choose from, but the little skinny Porsche just slides its way down the inside. Rob gets it stopped brilliantly. Good awareness from John Roberts to give room to Gary Tull. Good awareness from Gary for him to give room to Rob Sharp. That was fantastic racing and a lovely, lovely move by Rob. Got cars running wide and all over the shop. Stuart Clark and Oliver Carwadine much further down the order than they would normally be, so I look forward to seeing how they can make their way through the pack. It's a harder fight, though. Those two BMWs are very fast in a straight line of João Estevez and Fausto Pinto. We saw that at Daytona earlier in the season. I'm pretty sure Fausto Pinto finished 4th in the race at Daytona. I'll just have a quick look in our results. He finished in 5th place. He had a really good scrap with a lot of the guys near the front there. That is one 16-wheeled car, that, by the look of it. Rob Sharp, John Roberts, Gary Tull and Stephen Haley. 3 Aston Martins chasing down the pesky Porsche. And now Rob is the one that's going to get slipstreamed like mad. Let's go on board and see what it looks like from here. This is not going to be a comfortable experience, as the very angry Ukrainian Air Force Aston Martin starts to reel him in now. The tractor beam is locked on. I'll tell you, Rob's got actually a decent gap on him, to be fair. Now, is John going to be late enough on the brakes? Rob tries to make him go all the way around. Gary Tull's got his nose down the inside of John. Oh, he can't quite make it work, but John gives him the room on the exit, I should say. Nothing to do with Stone's ear. Side by side they go. Now, Stephen Haley is, again, the man with the front row seat. Beautiful lighting conditions here again at Monza. Going in and out of the shadows of all the trees. Now expect John to cut over to the left. He doesn't. He brakes to make sure he doesn't go in the back of Gary Tull. But look, they're all trying to work together here not to hold each other up, because they want to go chasing after Rob Sharp. They don't want to let him get away. Now Simon Povey's got a bit of a bigger lead up at the front, so he's been able to get away slightly. This is Stuart Clark still trying to find a way past Fausto Pinto, and I think he's going to do it now. Gets a really good run on the exit, focuses on squirting that car out the corner. Oliver Carwadine's going to try and go down the inside of Fausto as well now. Doesn't quite work for him yet. Fausto nearly into the back of Stuart Clark though, and now Oliver Carwadine's alongside. He's going to try and go down the inside into Lesmo 2, and there you go, he's ahead of the BMW. But look at this big train of cars now. Ryan Penny trying to take advantage behind the Beamer. He's in the number 99 Porsche, and then behind him, Paul Stout has got a great view of this as well. This is fantastic racing. So many of them with so many opportunities. And it's all one big mind game about slipstreaming and being careful. Following one another as Ryan Penny clips the grass. He's off. Comes back on. What a fantastic save, Ryan. Fair play. Wow. He just got really close to the back of Fausto's. Oh, no. Paul's gone way out wide. Oh, he's lost it. Oh, he's lost it big time, and he's collected Ralph Mayer. Oh, I had to say it was fantastic racing, and then the big accident itself happens right in front of us. Ryan Penny, the initial off. So you can see, look, he moves over, just taps the grass, loses the back end. It's a fantastic save. He comes back on. Paul Stout tries to take advantage of the situation, goes around him, but goes way too wide, and then as the car bounces down there, it unsettles itself. And there were actually, it didn't look like there were two Porsches to hit there, but there was two fragile Crockery on board cars there. We'll go back on the chopper cam and show you. So Paul brakes early. That's all it takes to spin Ryan's car. And he's very lucky. But look, there's two Porsches right behind Paul here. And he just, he tries to take a wide line. Comes back on and, how he doesn't hit Ryan Penny, I don't know. But it's a big old shunt, that. Thankfully, it's just sim racing and we know they'll both be okay, if not a little bit miffed. But they're the little moments you've got to try and gain as much as you can. And they're the ones that make or break people's race, unfortunately. And now, Rob Sharp still holding on ahead of Gary Tall. There's a little bit more of a gap between himself, John Roberts, and Stephen Haley as well. And into Ascari they go again. I don't dare look. I don't know if I want to do this or not. Oh no, wrong car. There we go. Now we're on board with Rob Sharp, looking back at Gary Tall. And here comes the slipstreaming once again. Look at the run that the Porsche's got out of there. Look fantastic. That acceleration through fourth gear was just amazing in the little Cayman. Hard onto the brakes, into Curva Alboreto. A little bit wide of the apex on the way in. Gary Tall, look, gets off the power and tucks the car in slightly. We've got a lot of symmetry going on with the manufacturers, haven't we? Look at that. 2 Astons, 2 Porsches, 3 Astons, 3 Porsches. 2 Beamers, 3 Porsches, 2 McLarens, 2 Porsches. My mind. Look at that gorgeous Aston. Moves over to the left-hand side now. He's got John Roberts and Stephen Haley pledging their allegiance to the Aston Martin brand, although Stephen now jumps out to the right, tries to make this a bit more complicated for John Roberts, and Gary Tall round the outside in the first part. Oh, no! I'm not sure if there was contact that stuck the two cars together there with him and Rob Sharp, but the two of them... Oh, they're in the way of Paul Goffin through the middle. Thanks, boys. Wow. Now, I'm not sure if... I've not got a clue what caused that there. Let's have a look then. Gary Tall goes through. I'm not sure if there was contact that stuck them together and made sure they pitched right, or whether Gary's just lost the back end slightly. Oh, there was a tap and then another one. It's hard to know whether it was Rob running a little bit deep or Gary not leaving the room, but either way, it's a shame to see it. And that drops them both down a number of positions. You can bet now that Gary is going to definitely want to get past him once again here. And push very hard indeed. Paul Goffin certainly did well to avoid hitting both of them, as he made his way onto the scene. We'll go on to the front of Gary Tall's Aston Martin. You can see the Orris.com branding. Rob Sharp's watches. As whoa, brakes a bit early there to make sure it doesn't go in the back of Paul Goffin, and Gary Tall nearly gets caught out by it, but he's following as closely as he can to put as much pressure on as possible to Rob Sharp. Just clips the grass slightly on the exit, but nothing untoward there. Now this is the battle for the lead, and it's still going on. Simon Povey, Andy Hopley, and this man, Dominic Brennan. We're a quarter of the way through the race already, 15 minutes in. And there is still only 0.8 of a second covering the top 3. Now, is Andy Hopley trying to make a move here, or is he trying to save fuel? That, to me, says that he's trying to put pressure on more than anything. He, of course, wants to do the very best he can to help his team in the championship. H Motorsport bringing Ed May on after the first couple of rounds. It was good to see him team up. Good to see Ed get the chance to race with Andy. I've known Andy for a long, long time. As Philip Hopley's gone a little bit deep into the chicane. João Estevez tries to give him room. He's run himself off the circuit. Doesn't give himself enough room, unfortunately. Fausto Pinto and Ryan Penny giving each other a bit of room as well. Heinz Mayer in there waiting to pounce on that. Great battles all the way through the field once again here at Monza. This is awesome to watch. Hope you're all enjoying the show so far. Hope it looks okay. Hope the bit rate's been a bit better. I know the frame rate's been a little bit awful in places, but that's just modern day iRacing, it seems. It's becoming more and more demanding as time goes on. It used to be a lot smoother to stream iRacing. Can't wait for the rain to kill my graphics card. But still, I'm excited to see what the rain is like. And apparently we're going to get weather radars in iRacing, which will be really cool. So your engineer can tell you when rain is on the way, which would be absolutely mega. But we get full visual weather radars. I think that's a really good addition by iRacing, and something that, again, is just a testament to the hard work they put in to this wonderful sim. Now Hopley so close to the back of Simon Povey. So close to the back of him. As they now get together down the start-finish straight. Almost glued together. But again, it's all tidy and it's all fair game. As they make their way around Curva Grande once more. We need to go back to this, unfortunately, because there is a battle erupting even more between John Roberts and Stephen Haley. John gets the better run out of the chicane and manages to open up a little bit of a gap. But now the two of them don't have to compete with Gary Toll and Paul Goffin. They seem a little bit more happy to throw the cars at one another a little bit. This is side by side between Philip Hopley and João Estevez on the way into the chicane. João making sure that he squeezes the little Porsche over to the right hand side as far as he can. Makes it into the chicane first, but Philip's going to concentrate at the exit. Look at the run that he's got. Still, actually, Fausto did a good job of that one. Andy Marston's come into the pit lane. As further behind this, we just saw it there in the background. Fausto Pinto running a little bit wide on the exit. Ryan Penny goes through. Heinz Mayer goes through as well. Stuart Clark just behind. I think Stuart's had another issue, you know, because he's dropped a lot of ground somewhere. Not quite sure what has caused that. Okay, so Fausto Pinto and Stuart Clark have both had a problem. Stuart's had contact with Carwadine there at the chicane. And the two of them meet head to head. As João Estevez has just been off the road, and he's off again. Big contact with Philip Hopley. Philip Hopley is surely out of the race with that damage. The suspension completely broken. Stephen Kershaw has also got big damage on his car. What has happened here? What on earth has happened here? Simon Povey and Dominic Brennan have both come into the pits. So this was earlier. This is what we were looking at before. Yeah, this was the move we were already looking at. So this was the Fausto Pinto incident. Apologies. I'm looking through a lot here. So Stephen Kershaw's had his own moment. And he's ploughed it head first into the wall. And oh no. It was in avoidance. Fausto went to the left. Sorry, João Estevez went to the left. Apologies. So Kershaw's had his moment. The car was rolling backwards, so he chose to go left. and loses it, and he gets absolutely nailed by Philip Hopley. There was very little that Philip Hopley would have been able to do there, though. Let's have a look. Ooh, he's got a lot of understeer on the way into Ascari. On the exit, nice and tidy, sees him go left, so he stays straight, and I think the wheel, I think he's actually I think he might be on a direct drive and he's turned the wheel off. Either that or the wheel has disconnected itself, because it definitely turned off there, because there was no feedback going through it for a second. But that is a horrible, horrible accident. Not what we like to see, but it was a simple bit of avoidance by João Estevez. He did his very best to make sure that he didn't hit Stephen Kershaw, and unfortunately it's gone to pot as well. Stephen Haley was very late on the brakes there. I think almost making contact with the back of John Roberts. Andy Hopley's into the pits from the race lead. Now where is Simon Povey in all of this? He's actually out. He's out behind Dominic Brennan. Dominic was in the pits for 1.3 seconds shorter than Simon. I don't think he's made the move on the circuit. He hasn't. He's done it in the pits. John Roberts has continued on. He leads this race as more pit stops are taking place. We'll show you just about where everybody is on track. There's a lot of them filtering their way down the start-finish straight now. Heinz Mayer has moved up into second position. He hasn't pitted yet. He's there, the yellow dot on the track map on the right-hand side. Dominic Brennan has just come out there ahead of Andy Hopley. And has Simon Povey gone back into the pits? He has. Has he had a penalty for speeding in the pits? I fear he might have done. Now, we've had a few drivers so far. We had this at Imola where a driver got a penalty, and it was a drive-through penalty, but they did a stop and go. Now, it doesn't clear the drive-through if you don't serve a drive-through. If you just do a stop and go, then it counts as just doing a pit stop. So, hopefully for Simon it is actually, well, I mean, I don't hope he's got a stop and go, but he comes back out the pits after 30 seconds and gets on with it again, but way, way down the order. So we'll have to wait and see what exactly that was. Now, Paul Goffin, despite being on track, is apparently typing in Discord. Or he was. Not sure if he's knocked his keyboard by accident while he's racing, but there's been a move, actually. Gary Tall has overtaken him. Now that's on the way into the first chicane. We saw that, didn't we? As Paul goes off. A little bit too hot into the chicane for the first time. And John Roberts, he's there somewhere. There he is into the pits from the race lead. And Heinz Mayer will join him. So that means that Dominic Brennan, there he is, will inherit the race lead overall now after the first round of pit stops. And he's got a decent gap over Andy Hopley as well. One that cannot be easily equalised with slipstream. So Dominic will be happy with that for sure. John Roberts just coming out of the pit lane now. You can just see him in the background there. Makes his way back out onto the circuit. And that's Stephen Haley going past him now. The two of them were fighting just before the stops. So John will want to get in that slipstream as soon as possible now. Now where is Simon Povey now? 13th position for Simon, behind Ralph Mayer. Ryan Penny is the next car ahead in 11th. Ryan Penny moves ahead of Heinz Mayer. Ryan actually is the biggest mover in the field once again. He's gained 8 positions so far. Stephen Haley's gained 7 actually to be up in 3rd place. He's having a fantastic run once again. Stephen's not had the easiest championship so far, to be honest with you. He's currently 19th in the standings on 62 points, but he's not been here for every race meeting. He's been very, very busy, so there have been times where we've not had him on track with us, unfortunately, but it's good to see him back out there. Simon Povey has just gone past Ralph Mayer up into 12th spot. Ralph's got quite a bit of damage on that car, actually, on the right-hand side. Seems like he's had a knock on the front right corner somewhere. Not sure if that's from the damage earlier, you know. Let's go on board and see what the car is handling like for Ralph. It seems okay. Looks like the steering's straight anyway. Well, I'm not sure if that is from the earlier accident where he was involved. And Andy Hopley is coming back into the pits. Now, what is this about? Now, it's easy to pick up incident points around here. Andy is going back into his pit box. Angles the car for a quick getaway. Now, Simon Povey was stationary for 30 seconds. A pit stop in these cars is about 21 to 25 seconds. I think Andy and Simon have both had drive-through penalties, and if this is the case, now Gary Tall has gone past. That is going to be Teams Championship decided in my eyes. Where is Simon? He's about to cross the line and get going. Andy Hopley has been stationary for 32, 3, 4 seconds. Much longer than Simon. There goes Simon now. And Andy's still sitting there. 42 seconds. 44-second pit stop. Now that says to me it's a stop and go. Or as they call it in iRacing, a stop and hold penalty for 40 seconds. So that's a real shame. Now means that Dominic Brennan's got a 15-second lead over Stephen Haley in second place. There's the two cars in terms of their relative positions on track. And then if we show you third position as well, John Roberts is not far behind Stephen Haley at all, is he? And here is that battle, in fact. Stephen Haley ahead of John Roberts. John for Boosted Motorsport looking for a podium in this one. He's not scored a podium yet this season. I think he's had a best result of 5th place at Hockenheim for John. Had a really good run there. There were a number of drivers that got their personal best results at that round, actually. As we look now at Ryan Penny, he has gained 9 spots to get where he is now. Stephen Haley's gained 8 spots. Heinz Mayer's gained 7. Stuart Clark's gained 5. There's some fantastic drives through the order once again so far in this race. We're about to hit half race distance. 28 minutes completed so far. These are the closest two cars on track though, Ryan Penny and Paul Goffin. Paul's car looking a little bit worse for wear when you look at the front of it. So maybe Ryan can take advantage of that. It might be hurting the car in a straight line. Here is the slipstream then from Ryan Penny. Let's have a look at the speed of the car. 230 k's there. 240. Pulls out to the right hand side. He just about hits 250, I'd say. But you can see that damage on Paul Goffin's machine there. Ryan goes through, down the inside. Thank you very much, he says, and on his way. Now Philip Hopley and João Estevez are both on track again together after getting a fast repair. They've got their cars fixed and made their way back out into the race after that huge accident earlier on. Good to see them both determined enough to carry on though. That's what we love in this championship. Our drivers are really committed individuals and they love the series and they make sure that they get every lap out of this that they can. And Philip Hopley has been a real popular addition to the championship. He's been enjoying himself in the Porsche, really putting it through its paces. Doing some hard battling with some of the guys further down the pack. He continues to chase the BMW of João Estevez. He's within about 0.6 of a second, so he's got some good slipstream. Only gets about 0.2 of a second on him in the whole length of the straight, but he's a lot later on the brakes actually, really closes in. Keeps it nice and tidy on the exit. Dominic Brennan, though, just behind them, is the race leader overall, and he has a massive, massive gap now, 15.6 seconds. And behind him, you can just see them in the background, actually, Stephen Haley and John Roberts are getting closer and closer together. The gap is about a second right now, and John is starting to reel him in slightly. He's going after his first podium this season, like I say. Stephen Haley in car 24 has also not had a podium yet this season, so the two of them really after one. And I'm sure we'll get a good fight out of them if they do continue to close together like this. We're over halfway through, over half an hour into this race right now. Further back, we have Andy Hopley closing in on Stephen Kershaw as they cross the line. Up through the gears we go, up through the revs, up through the tacho. And Andy tries to release the brakes a little bit, get the car down the inside and make the move, and he does. Good room given by Stephen Kershaw. He drops to 15th place, and Andy Hopley moves ahead and continues his charge back up the order after what surely was a penalty for the H Motorsport boss man. He goes now into the De La Roggia chicane and chases after the BMW of Fausto Pinto. Now John Roberts has closed in behind Stephen Haley once more. It's now 0.6 of a second between the two of them. There is the gap back from Stephen's car. We've got a bit of a prettier camera. We'll go on the left rear suspension, or at least hang about a foot off the car. And now you'll see the gap between the two of them start to come down visually. So it starts at about half a second. It's now 0.4 of a second, and John is really reeling him in. Stephen's still doing 240 k's on his own without any slipstream from any cars in front, but John is on a mission right now, and it's a menacing car to have chasing you, the Aston Martin Vantage. This is the V8 version, the GT4 car. Aston Martin have started producing a V12 Vantage, which has a slightly longer nose, makes an incredible noise, and has a very strange rear wing on it. But there is now a V12 Vantage on the market. The old car was cool enough. The current one is absolutely bonkers. It's a twin-turbo V12 as well, so it's not just any V12 engine. It's not naturally aspirated. It's no messing about. Nearly 700 horsepower, the current V12. You can see Stevens moving the car around a little bit here. He knows that he's under pressure right now. Andy Hopley, by the way, is side by side with Fausto Pinto. Andy all the way over on the left-hand side of your shot. Fausto on the right. And he's not making it too difficult for him. He's just letting Andy run his own race and get on with the job. Now Rob Sharp in the background there just went off track slightly trying to catch these guys, but he's pushing the limits as hard as he can to get into this podium fight. Rob is another driver that I don't think has... Oh no, he got a podium last time out, didn't he? Second place in that last race at Imola for Rob. And this is starting to build and build, isn't it? Love the rumble of these Aston Martins as well as they come thundering past our cameras onto the start-finish straight. So there you see then Stephen Haley just trying to keep that gap whatever it can be, and I think, to be honest with you, John is playing this quite clever right now, and he's going to try and save fuel behind the car in front because they still have to do another pit stop. Even if he doesn't save a lap and go an extra lap compared to Stephen, he can still at least have a shorter pit stop at the end. These guys are all really good at calculating the numbers of how much fuel they need to the end of the race. You have to be careful around Monza though, because you spend so much of the lap flat out. You have to really overestimate how much you need, because if you underestimate it by even half a lap and you have to do a long old lap round here, it can completely ruin your race. Further back we've got Paul Goffin with Heinz Mayer just behind him. Paul really suffering with that damage, unfortunately. He's not got the car underneath him right now that he wants. The three Porsches making their way into Lesmo 1 together. Hines still inside the top 10, which is good. He's gained 7 places in this race. Ryan Penny has gained 10. And this man, Stephen Haley, has gained 8 so far. John Roberts, of course, qualified 4th on the grid. He had a really good qualifying session. That lap at the end was awesome to watch. As John just continues to sit in the slipstream here, doesn't he? 36 minutes done now. Usually we see pit stops anywhere from 45 minutes race distance to about 55 minutes as John goes for it. John's gone for the move on the right hand side, so he's thinking, nah, I'm not going to bother saving any fuel here, Chaz. I want to prove you wrong. Down the inside on the brakes goes John Roberts, and through he goes into second place. Now watch out for Stephen Haley getting the run. Actually, John gets a really good launch out of the corner, doesn't he? You can bet that Stephen's not going to take that line down. Rob Sharp has closed in by about 2nd on these guys over the last lap or so, so that's certainly not been put to bed. But yeah, look, Paul Goffin, even with slipstream a little bit from Ryan Penny in front of him, not able to defend, although he's later on the brakes than Hines Mayer. He's going to try and keep it down the inside, and he does as well. Good respect by Hines to give him the room. But Paul continues to hold on for now. Good stuff. The car is definitely all banged up though, isn't it? All out of shape. Well, Dominic Brennan, what a fantastic run he's having once again. If he continues this form, he's going to take his 2nd race win on the bounce. And the one that he got last time was his 1st win in the championship as well. After scoring pretty much 100% record of podiums so far this season. It was great to see him finally get a win. A number of the guys have all been saying that he's just scary fast because they know that he doesn't even turn laps between race meetings. He just turns up, gets a bit of time in practice, and then just gets on with it. And manages to be as quick as he is. Now Stephen Haley's all over the back of John Roberts here. They're having a fantastic scrap so far. As we start to close in on 2/3 race distance, the sun starts to get lower and lower here at Monza. And there is the slipstream effect, and Stephen lifting off by the sounds of it a moment ago, but no. Commits to the move, he decides that he's going to go for it. Leaves plenty of room. Or does he? Ooh, moves over a little bit on the brakes. Gets it down the inside. Nicely stopped into the chicane. John tries to focus on the exit though. Doesn't quite get the run that he wanted. He got a decent enough run though. And Stephen's going to put the car in the middle of the road. He says, if you want to go around me, you're going to have to go a really long way around. Oliver Cowardine into the pits. Ryan Penny does his fastest lap of the race in 7th position. Look at this. John Roberts almost bump drafting Stephen Haley in towards the De La Rosier chicane. Rob Sharp has gained another couple of tenths on the pair of them, you know. Rob is not out of this. He wants another podium. He wants to take a 1st podium off at least one of these guys. But it's been awesome racing so far by the two of them. Stephen Haley just kisses the grass a tiny bit there on the way to Lesmo 2. Back end steps out and everything. And then up the hill towards Ascari. The gap 2.3 seconds to Rob Sharp. And still this battle goes on as well. Heinz Mayer throwing everything he can at Paul Goffin. Still can't get through down the inside. Simon Povey isn't too far off the back of this either. He's pushing on and on. He was 1.6 seconds quicker than Heinz Mayer last time around without slipstream. Just to show you how quick Simon Povey is. Sounded like somebody was completely stationary then. There was certainly the sound of a car not making much forward momentum anyway. So, here go these two once again. John Roberts moves to the right-hand side. Stephen Haley is now the car on the outside. John keeps it to the right of the white line. Later on the brakes. Gets it parked on the apex. And through he goes. Now these two are probably thinking, yeah, if we keep swapping places like this, we won't lose time to Rob. But that is very, very incorrect because Rob is still catching. 1.8 seconds now, the gap. Simon Povey back in the pits. Yep, he's there. Trust me. There he is. Simon makes his way in for what is surely going to be his second stop, and he's just going to get that done and out of the way and then complete the race. But we've had some fantastic fighting so far. Just love watching these cars bounce their way around the Lesmos. It's a very tricky part of the course because of the camber that is on offer, especially in the second Lesmo as well. The curb sort of flattens the car out, and then when it leans into the corner again, if you hit that curb hard enough, it can be a real nightmare. Back down the straight once more, absolutely flying as well on the way into Curva de Alboreto. Across the line to start what is going to be lap 22. Of course, the race leader already on said lap. Dominic Brennan now into the pits though, actually. So I say that, and I'm completely corrected. Dominic pitting a lot earlier than the rest of them, but then again, he and Simon Povey both came in on around the same lap when they were initially into the pits, so that makes sense, really, when you add it all together. It's one of the added elements to these races that we have here. Paul Goffin still trying to chase down Heinz Mayer. Of course, with the added slipstream, the car might not feel so horrendous in a straight line. However, it just doesn't have that pinch out of the corner, does it? It's just missing something because of that damage, unfortunately. It's a real shame because Paul has had quite the season, to be honest with you. Currently finds himself 14th in the standings, tied with Mark Johnson on 87 points. He's not too far off Byron Crawford, Andy Hopley or Stuart Clark as well. So it's a shame to see that this one isn't quite going as well for him. This is your race leader then, John Roberts from Stephen Haley. And surely the two of them will be in the pits soon. João Estevez makes his way into the pit lane. Stephen Haley pits, but John Roberts does not. John carries on then. Leads this race outright, but he's only 22 seconds ahead of Dominic Brennan, so that shows you just how fast Dominic has been once again in this race. He's been absolutely supreme so far. And surely, yeah, you can see in the background, Stephen Haley's not even out of the pits yet, and Dominic Brennan has quite the gap. Another standout job so far from Dominic. There's a number of cars in and out of the pits. Paul Goffin is into the pits. Stephen Haley makes his way back out on track. Now, where is Simon Povey? He's currently 13th. Just coming into the final couple of corners. Now, it's not going to be the championship winning fight so far. Or championship winning drive, I should say, that Simon's going to have wanted to have, or at least round out his season with. But he's doing enough to still take the title. Thank the Lord for very quick microphone mute buttons because I've just done one of the loudest sneezes I've ever done. Anyway, just going to continue to see what John Roberts does here because I think we may get him into the pits this time round. Because as Alex Nella pointed out earlier on, it's very difficult to save fuel around here, and so to get the extra lap is not easy whatsoever. And no, John does continue on. So fair play. Rob Sharp just behind him comes into the pits, but Rob had gained quite a lot of time actually. This is Ryan Penny, Paul Goffin, Oliver Carwadine in the McLaren all together. Looks like Paul's got his car fixed now after that pit stop, which is good. Just show you the pit stops on the left hand side just to confirm who still needs to stop. Gary Tall is in the pits. John Roberts and Fausto Pinto are the last two cars that will take to the pit lane. And now Paul Goffin wants to make up for the spots that he's lost and try and move back up the order. Heinz Mayer, as of right now, has 12 places gained, but of course he has to pit and is pitting right now actually. So we'll keep our eyes out for roughly where he emerges on the circuit. He's still in the pits actually right now. Actually, no, he's coming out now. He's there, trust me. Believe me, he's there. Really need to fix that camera actually for next time I broadcast here. So he's going to get going right now. Oh, for God's sake. Gets his foot down. Now, is he going to lose out to these guys? Stuart Clark is definitely going to go through. Stuart's had a really good run actually. He started 12th. He's up 6 places now into 6th position. Considering that his qualifying wasn't going well to begin with, he'll be pretty happy as Carwadine moves over to the right to try and overtake Ryan Penny. Paul Goffin tries to make that work as well. Oh, Oliver makes the decision to go straight on at the chicane. Goffin loses out to Povey. Ryan Penny gets his position back, but Simon Povey's going to have the run. It was nearly contact, and to be fair to Paul Goffin, it was great awareness to move over to the right when Oliver was also moving right to make sure that they did not come together. John Roberts is into the pits. There he is, making his way into the pit lane. Simon Povey goes through on Ryan Penny. Moves into the top 10 even further now, up into 9th place. He's now going to overtake Oliver Carwadine, who's got a slowdown penalty. Oliver makes sure that he slots back in front of Ryan Penny to not lose another position. Trail brakes, if I can get the word out, trail brakes around the first of the Lesmos. Ryan Penny looks to the inside, nothing doing there. Or is there? Carwadine's gone way deep into Lesmo 2, probably expecting Penny to actually commit to the move there down the inside, so he certainly sold him the dummy. Paul Goffin has a front row seat, and Dominic Brennan has re-inherited the race lead from John Roberts. Now, importantly, Rob Sharp is ahead of Stephen Haley as well for their necessary places. Carwadine ducks out of the way of these guys. But Rob Sharp is ahead of Stephen Haley. And look at that. John Roberts. Well, Sean Gardner calling him John Hybrid Foot Roberts in the chat, and he's not wrong actually. I've raced a long time against John, and he's very good when it comes to saving fuel and keeping the ultimate pace of the car. Side by side into Alboreto. Ryan Penny giving plenty of room on the outside to Paul Goffin. Or is he? Oh, he moves over to the right slightly. Oh, Paul has to loosen up the steering to save the car, and the two of them come together. Oh, I think admittedly, Paul's backed it into the barrier, and, well, I think Ryan Penny's just hit the medical van. Ryan tries to do a sort of J-turn to get it back on the road. I think, to be honest, Ryan just didn't leave enough room on the inside. He did initially, look, you'll see. Paul gets to the apex. Ryan puts the car in the middle of the road. And it does naturally go to the outside there, and to be honest, Paul had to let the steering off to try and save the car. Rolls it off the track as quickly as he can. Oh, Ryan doesn't hit the emergency vehicle at all, actually. We'll have another look at it from the viewpoint of Oliver Carwadine. Well, there's another view of it from the outside. It's definite netcode involved. But this is the look from Oliver Carwadine's car, so you'll see both of them usually run out wide to the left, and they do. Look where Ollie's going now. And I think Ryan just tries to close the gap off, and Paul just tries not to upset the car too much. Carwadine laughs all the way to the bank, but I'm sure that's not how he would have wanted it to go. Now Carwadine has overtaken Simon Povey, who's just been off track, and Simon has jumped to the pits. I think Simon's night has come to an end here. Oh. Now, he hasn't been well as Simon, and he did say earlier that maybe we might see him pull over tonight and he might call it quits. And I think that might have been the moment where unfortunately the illness has caught up with him. So I hope you're alright, Simon. He will still be champion after this race meeting. Even with a retirement, he still has more points than Ed May in the championship, and more points than Ed can now score with 1 round left. Dominic Brennan, he's absolutely loving life at the very front. And he's been outstanding, hasn't he? Once again. Really impressed with Dominic Brennan, and hope, of course, that if we get a second season of the championship, we do get him back. John Roberts has been great as well. That fantastic qualifying lap, putting him 4th, second row of the grid. He's now got 7.6 seconds over Rob Sharp, who has then got nearly 5 seconds over Stephen Haley, and he's got a bit of traffic between them as well. Philip Hopley in there. Gary Tall in 5th position at the moment. He started 8th on the grid. Stuart Clark is 6th. He started 12th. Heinz Mayer, he's up into 7th place right now. He's gained 10 positions from where he started in this race, so he's having a very good run indeed. I really like watching this car as well. It's a gorgeous livery. Of course, the front half of it made up of the Crockery Direct branding, and then the sort of shattered pattern, I should say, with Orris Digital down the side. Sort of being half covered up by the design. It looks really cool. He did have it on the BMW at the start of the season, and it looked absolutely stunning. But it's still just as good on the Porsche. 53 minutes of the race run now, and this is how the field is spread out. Quite the spread amongst them all. And Heinz has got only a couple of seconds to Stuart Clark ahead of him here in 6th position. As I mentioned before, Stuart having a bit of a tough start to the evening with qualifying, struggling to get a lap on the board, and now he's running very well indeed after starting 12th. And Ryan Penny has gained 7 spots from where he started. He started in the penultimate spot on the grid in 18th. We have Bossman still running as well, by the way. Andy Marston, currently running in 17th position. Trying to get those all-important points on the board for Team SRM. They're trying to chase SimSport Racing International in the Teams Championship, but they have quite the comfortable gap over Petrol Tuga as well. So he and his teammate Paul Goffin look safe to continue where they are in the Teams Championship. That is 7th position at the moment. As a little bit too hot into the De La Roggia chicane there for Andy. Manages to keep it all under control though and get back on. It's very, very easy to do that into the De La Roggia. You can turn in very early and attack that first curb, and it throws you off to the right hand side and then over the second curb, and then the whole thing becomes a big mess. It is way too easy to do it. So Dominic Brennan nearly 14.5 seconds clear of John Roberts right now in these beautiful golden conditions. It's getting much, much darker here at Monza now. We get a lot of shadows here because of all of the greenery around the circuit. It's not really a circuit that's known for its stunning sunsets, as Dominic Brennan, well, throwing this car in. He's certainly still pushing hard. His last lap was a 1:57.0. Fastest lap that anyone else did was Gary Tall doing a 1:57.6. So he's still 0.6 of a second clear of everybody that's chasing him down at the moment. Closest two cars on track are actually Fausto Pinto and the car just in the background there, the little Porsche of Ralph Mayer. Less than 5 minutes to go here at Autodromo Nazionale Monza in round 11 of 12 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Dominic Brennan leads the way at the moment by 14.5 seconds to John Roberts. Started fourth in this race. Rob Sharp is en route to his second podium in a run. Or in a row, I should say, if I spoke decent English. He's gained 4 places, started 7th. Stephen Haley started 10th, and he's up to 4th. Gary Toll started 8th, he's up to 5th. Stuart Clark started 12th, he's up to 6th. And Heinz Mayer started 17th, and he's up into 7th spot. Oliver Carwadine started 9th, he's up 1 position into 8th. And now Andy Hopley. Well, he's actually the highest placed car that has lost a position in this race. He started 2nd on the grid, and due to what I believe is a penalty earlier on, has dropped down into 9th. Paul Goffin rounding out the top 10 currently, despite the big damage to the car earlier and a lot of time lost through having to drag it around. He's done a good job to remain inside the top 10. Ryan Penny may not be in the top 10, but he's gained 7 spots. Another solid drive by Ryan. He actually had one of his best performances in the championship when he had COVID. Did Ryan? He said he was feeling absolutely awful, but he put in a solid performance. I believe it was at the Nürburgring to gain the most places on the night. We'll go on board with Dominic Brennan and show you a flat-out lap of Monza once again. Not many battles going on right now, admittedly. It's all a bit spread out. There's 1 or 2 cars that could really close in on each other in the slipstream in the latter stages, but to be honest with you, I don't think much is going to change unless we see a big mistake from some of them. And some very heroic lap times from others. So, Dominic Brennan could get 2 more laps out of this race right now. And I think he will as well, actually, as the lighting suddenly changes dramatically inside the car. Across the line we go then, and it is just going to be over 2 minutes left, so he is going to get 2 more laps in this race unless he really slows it down, and that's why the lighting changed, because the headlights have come on here at Monza. iRacing flicks all of the lights on all at the same time. Where is John Roberts? There he is, and then just in the background you can see Rob Sharp, who was 2nd at Imola and will be, as things stand anyway, on the podium with Dominic Brennan for the 2nd race week in succession. Lovely pops and crackles from the Aston Martin as John wrangles it up through the gears. We'll just watch these cars one by one come through the exit of the first chicane. Now Stephen Haley's not got a massive gap over Gary Toll here, 2.6 seconds between them two. That might come down even further. Stuart Clark is the next car in 6th. Now, I'm not sure if Dominic Brennan is going to slow this down on the final lap to end the race. Part of me does not think he will at all. Part of me also knows that Dominic is definitely savvy enough to do that. But the checkered flag doesn't come out unless you've got a decent few seconds in hand over the allowance before you come out of the final corner, where it sort of triggers the checkered flag. So pretty sure that right now Dominic is going to continue on and start the final lap next time he crosses the line. We'll see. Hard onto the brakes then into Curva Alboreto. He's got a good 17 seconds left. And are we going to see the white flag in the air? Well, the checkered flag is not out yet. Yes, he is going to cross the line, and we are going to get 1 more lap here at Monza in round 11 of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. That gives everybody else behind an extra chance to make moves, and also means that everybody's got an extra chance to run out of fuel. I know that a lot of them will have wanted that to be the final lap. And Simon Povey actually said his quick release decided to rattle itself apart on Monza's bumps. So never mind the illness, it's actually a hardware issue for Simon that has ended his race. Still gets 1 point. Of course, for taking pole position. And he's in the chat as well. Good to see you, Simon. Very well done on the championship, mate. And of course, the wonderful Ed May as well has been in the Discord chat. Ed has sent a wonderful message saying that he'd like to be the first to give his congrats to Simon Povey for winning the championship. He says it was a hard-fought season with plenty of amazing moments, but in the end, the fastest driver came out on top, fully deserved. The sportsmanship, it must be said, between Simon and Ed this season has been phenomenal. You know, the fact that in the latter stages they were offering not to race, so they didn't gain too much of an advantage over the other when, you know, one driver couldn't make it. And to be honest, the man that has benefited from some of these guys not being able to race, massively benefited, has been Dominic Brennan. He has been a real star and is just about to take his second race win in a row. Clap emojis in chat, everybody. Give Dominic Brennan a round of applause. He deserves that one. Another dominant victory in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge for Dominic Brennan. Very well done indeed. The privateer takes his second win on the bounce, continues an incredibly impressive record this season. As it looks like Ralph Mayer just had to come out of the pits there and do a splash and dash. How about second place for John Roberts? His first podium of the season. Some big, big points for John. He'll be over the moon with that. And 2 podiums in a row for Rob Sharp. Hats off, Sunshine. Hats off. Great stuff. Stephen Haley gets 4th place. I'm sure he'll be over the moon with that. 6 places gained from 10th on the grid. And Gary Tall, a top 5 finish for Gary. More solid points. And that wraps up the championship for Tall and Taller Motorsport. Your team's champions in the first season of the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. And that will mean that the gloves are off going into the finale in 2 weeks' time at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Stuart Clark has a great race, starts 12th, finishes in 6th. Heinz Mayer will be next up. He is the biggest mover in the field. He gains 10 places on the night to complete a very, very good evening for the fragile Crockery on board driver. Oliver Carwadine finishes 8th. Andy Hopley finishes 9th. And we'll be wondering what might have been with his early pace in that one. Paul Goffin is going to round out your top 10. And then there's not many more cars to cross the line. Ryan Penny gains 7 spots. Once again, another great recovery from Ryan, just finishing ahead of Fausto Pinto. But Dominic Brennan, well, what can you say other than very well done to Dominic. Another solid, solid performance. Not many could get near him tonight. Once he broke away, he just had the pace to continue and push on and on and on. And that is exactly what you want. We still have, I think, one more driver to cross the line. It is going to be Ralph Mayer. We'll give Ralph the airtime, bless him. He and Crockery Direct and Orris Digital, big supporters of the series. They are supposed to have their logos in the top right, but for some reason when I take the results off, the logos disappear. Anyway, there is Ralph Mayer crossing the line in car 990. He's going to pull over, I'm sure, as soon as possible. And Dominic Brennan takes your race victory. Let's have a look at some results then, shall we? And confirm exactly how that all shaped out. Brennan wins by 15.8 seconds in the end to Hybrid Foot Roberts. John Roberts finishes second. He's had a fantastic night, and it's really, really well deserved from John. Rob Sharp gets another brilliant podium. He's going to have a big smile on his face tonight. Stephen Haley finishes in 4th. Good points for him, and that's really going to help his championship actually right near the end, because he's right in the thick of it, where just one good result can launch you right up the order. Gary Tall finishes 5th. It's going to be the same for him as well. He's in the thick of it too. Stuart Clark in 6th place. That's going to help him out massively. Heinz Mayer in 7th. Really good night from him. Biggest mover in the field. Oliver Carwadine just behind him in 8th spot. And then we have Andy Hopley and Paul Goffin rounding out our top 10. Ryan Penny finishes in 11th place, just ahead of Fausto Pinto, as we saw there. Ralph Mayer finishes 13th, and he was the last car on the lead lap. The cars that were one lap down but still classified were Paul Stout, João Estevez and Philip Hopley. Andy Marston is 17th, 2 laps down, but still finishes the race. Simon Povey is classified 18th but is a DNF, and same too for Stephen Kershaw, who we lost 14 laps from the end. Well, it was certainly another exciting night in the championship and really sets us up for a good old fun finale, to be honest with you, because with only one race meeting left this season, it does definitely mean that the gloves are going to be off right now, and I'm excited to see what the drivers make of it. We're going to just get things rewound to further in the race. Maybe just get things to the green flag, actually, so we get the cars at least at full chat in horrendous frame rate. And we'll start our interviews, shall we? The first guy that I want to have a chat with is the man that qualified 10th on the grid. It didn't look like it was all going too swimmingly to begin with, but Stephen Haley managed to make his way up to 4th place by the end. Stephen, you must be pretty pleased with that one, mate. Not a bad night.
Oh, even more pleased if my lollipop man would extend that lollipop just a little bit more so I didn't miss him.
Oh, is that what happened, was it? Did you have like a bit of an overrun?
Yeah, there was a car in the spot in front of mine, or behind mine, should I say, and I thought I'd got it just right, but I'd just overcooked it just a slight little bit, and then when I was trying to get reverse, I didn't quite get it right, and so yeah, I lost quite a few seconds in the pits. What could have been a third, but you know, I'll take where we came.
Well, I was going to say, still good points for the championship, and as I've just pointed out there over the results, you know, you're one of the guys that's right in the thick of it in the middle of the field, so, you know, a decent result can throw you up the order quite suddenly, can't it?
I'm hoping so, yeah. But a rough run of luck, I would have thought,
yeah.
Of late. Last week at Imola weren't fantastic. Get myself a drive-through and whatnot, and yeah, it was about time Lady Luck shone down on me, as it were.
I certainly agree, mate. And are we hoping that Lady Luck continues at a place like Circuit Barcelona Catalunya? Because that's a tough old track, isn't it?
I hope so. It's a track that I know really, really well, and I do actually quite enjoy it. So I'm hoping for more battles with who was I battling with? John.
Yes.
If I can do some more wheel-to-wheel battlings with the likes of John and Rob and whatnot, I'll be really, really, really happy.
Yeah, it was a really good fight to watch that, actually, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. I know John will have done as well. It was nice and clean and still fierce racing, so we hope for more of that. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to while I've got you, Stephen?
Some sport lads, yourself, the wife, and I just want to say that I managed that race without any incident points whatsoever, so I did even more chuffed about that. Fair
play, mate, fair play, because it's so easy to get them at the chicanes here at Monza. That's a very, very big achievement, so hats off, mate. Hats off. Well, well done again, Stephen. Really good points, mate. Hope to see more of the same at Catalunya, but thanks for joining me, and we'll see you soon.
Guys, catch you later.
Cheers. And there we go, Stephen Haley. Well, 0 incident points around Monza in an hour-long race in a GT4 car while battling like that. That is quite the achievement, I'm sure you will all agree. Unfortunately, though, we do not have any other drivers lined up for interviews by the look of it. So I'm pretty sure that's going to have to be the end of the show. Dominic Brennan, though. Fantastic victory for Dominic. 2 in a row right now. I'm sure he's going to go for the hat-trick at the end of the season. But Simon Povey comes away as your driver's champion in the Sim Racing Magazine GT4 Challenge. Tall and Taller Motorsport, him and his teammate Gary Tall come away as teams champions as well, still with 1 round left to go. It's been an absolute thriller here from Monza. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I've been Chaz Draycott, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time as we head to the finale at Catalunya. But for now, have yourselves a wonderful evening, stay safe, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Good night.
Opportunistic, still rubbing panels as they go together. It's folded the wing mirror in on Gerardo's car.
Misano is such a difficult circuit for these guys to get right. There's a lot of start-stop sections around the back. It's a very, very quick section as well.
It's a fantastic start from the 23. They're 4 wide there by the look of it.